Everyone wants to reconnect with you, Mom explained cheerfully, holding up the festive newsletter with its holly border and smiling family photos, my full address printed in elegant script right beneath a paragraph about how our darling Sarah finally settled down in beautiful Ashford, Oregon. Aren't you excited? People have been asking about you for years. She'd sent it to 200 people, extended family, old neighbors, church congregation, her book club, her bridge group, while I stood frozen in her kitchen, watching my carefully constructed life unravel with every word. My burner phone was already vibrating in my pocket. Marshal Donovan, my WITSEC handler, who never called unless everything had gone catastrophically wrong. My name isn't Sarah. I'm in federal witness protection. And someone on that mailing list wants me dead. Let me take you back to who I was before I became someone else. My real name, the one I was born with, the one that appears in court transcripts and sealed federal documents, doesn't matter anymore. What matters is what I saw, what I testified about, and why I've spent the last 3 years living as a ghost. I was a forensic accountant in Chicago. Not glamorous work, but essential, the kind of painstaking number tracking that reveals where money goes when powerful people want it hidden. I'd built a quiet career uncovering fraud, embezzlement, and financial crimes that made headlines and sent executives to prison. Then I was assigned to the Marchetti case. The Marchetti family had operated in Chicago for 3 generations, transitioning from traditional organized crime into something more sophisticated, money laundering on a scale that would make Wall Street blush. They cleaned money for cartels, corrupt officials, arms dealers. Their operation moved an estimated $2 billion annually through legitimate businesses, shell corporations, and real estate investments. I found the trail. Followed it through 17 countries and 43 companies. Built a case that could dismantle their entire operation. And then they found out who I was. The first warning was subtle. A break-in at my apartment while I was at work. Nothing stolen, but everything moved slightly, enough to notice if you were paying attention. A message, "We know where you live." The second warning was less subtle. My car exploded in the parking garage 30 seconds after I'd stepped out of it. The FBI later determined the device was on a timer, miscalculated by exactly long enough to save my life. There was no third warning. The FBI moved me into protective custody that same night. 2 months later, after my testimony helped convict 17 people including 3 Marchetti family members, I entered WITSEC. I became Sarah Mitchell, elementary school librarian, resident of Ashford, Oregon, a town so small that my Chicago sensibilities initially considered it barely a town at all. For 3 years, I'd been careful. No contact with anyone from my old life. No social media. No relationships that required explaining my past. I'd built something that passed for normal, a job I loved, a small house with a garden, neighbors who thought I was a quiet woman escaping a bad divorce. Then my mother found me. My mother, Linda, I'll call her, though that's not her real name either, had been told I was dead. That's what WITSEC does when the threat level is high enough. They stage a death, hold a funeral, give the family closure. I'd been killed in a car accident, body too badly burned for viewing. My mother had buried an empty casket and grieved for a daughter who was living 2,000 miles away under a different name. Until she hired a private investigator. I should have known she wouldn't accept my death easily. She was the kind of mother who called 3 times a day, who showed up unannounced with casseroles, who needed to be involved in every aspect of her children's lives. My death had been devastating, but after 3 years, the grief had transformed into suspicion. Something never felt right, she told me later. A mother knows. I just knew you weren't gone. The PI was good. Too good. He'd traced financial records that should have been buried, followed leads that should have been dead ends. 6 weeks ago, he'd given my mother a name and an address, Sarah Mitchell, 1847, Maple Street, Ashford, Oregon. She'd shown up at my library 3 days before Christmas. I didn't recognize her at first. 3 years had aged her visibly, gray hair where there'd been brown, deeper lines around her eyes, a weariness that spoke of grief endured. She was standing in the children's section, pretending to browse picture books, but her eyes were fixed on me. "Can I help you find something?" I'd asked, my librarian's autopilot engaging. Emily. The name hit me like a physical blow. Emily. My real name. The one I hadn't heard spoken aloud in 3 years. "I'm sorry, you must have me confused." "Don't." Her voice cracked. "Don't you dare pretend. I know it's you. I've spent 3 years mourning you, and you've been alive this whole time." She started crying. So did I. That's how my cover began to crack. The next 3 days were a complicated negotiation. I tried to explain without explaining, the danger, the necessity, the reasons why I'd let her believe I was dead. I couldn't tell her about the Marchettis specifically, but I could tell her that people wanted to hurt me, that staying dead was the only way to stay alive. "Then why am I here?" she demanded. "If it's so dangerous, why did they let you be found?" "They didn't let anything. You hired someone who was very good at his job. Now we're both in danger. That's dramatic, Emily. You always were dramatic. She didn't understand. Couldn't understand. To her, the threat was abstract, something from movies, not something that could reach her daughter in a sleepy Oregon town. I called Marshal Donovan that night. He was furious but practical. We need to assess whether your location has been truly compromised, he said. Your mother found you through legal channels, PI work, not leaks. The Marchettis might not have access to that information. And if they do? Then we relocate you again. New name, new place, new life. New life. As if shedding identities was as simple as changing clothes. What about my mother? She needs to leave. Go home. Never mention you again to anyone. I explained this to Mom. She agreed, reluctantly, tearfully. Then she went home and created the Christmas newsletter. Everyone wants to reconnect with you, she explained, showing me the newsletter that Christmas morning. I'd driven to her house in Michigan, against protocol, against every rule I was supposed to follow, because she'd called crying, saying she needed to see me one last time before maintaining our separation. I'd believed her. I shouldn't have. The newsletter was her typical holiday production, thick cardstock, professional printing, photos of the family arranged in a collage. Dad by the Christmas tree. My brother's new baby. The dog wearing a Santa hat. And there, in the third paragraph, the best news of all, our darling Emily is alive and well. After years of thinking we'd lost her, we've discovered she's been living in beautiful Ashford, Oregon. She goes by Sarah now and works as a librarian. We're so grateful to have her back in our lives. Her address is 1847 Maple Street, Ashford, Oregon, 97520, if anyone wants to send holiday wishes. 200 copies. Sent to everyone my mother had ever met. Mom. My voice came out strangled. What did you do? I told everyone the good news. You're alive, Emily. People should know. They grieved for you too. I told you I was in danger. I told you people wanted to hurt me. That was 3 years ago. Surely it's fine now. Nobody holds grudges that long. My phone vibrated. Marshal Donovan. I answered while walking out of the kitchen, away from my mother's confused expression. Tell me you didn't. Donovan's voice was ice. It wasn't me. My mother. I know what your mother did. We intercepted a copy from her church's mailing list. Do you understand what's happening right now? Yes. That newsletter went to 200 people. Within 48 hours, it'll be forwarded, shared, posted online. Your name and address are in the wind. We're initiating emergency relocation protocols. How long do I have? Get back to Oregon. Pack what you can carry. We'll have extraction ready within 72 hours. 72 hours. To abandon another life, another identity, another version of myself I'd built from nothing. I drove back to Oregon in a daze. 16 hours straight, stopping only for gas and coffee, my mind racing through scenarios and calculations. The Marchettis had resources, money, connections, people who specialized in finding those who didn't want to be found. If my address reached the wrong hands, if someone on that mailing list had ties I didn't know about, if the newsletter made its way onto social media. I was 3 hours from Ashford when my phone rang again. Sarah? It was Janet, my neighbor, the retired nurse who watered my plants when I traveled. Something strange is happening at your house. My blood went cold. What kind of strange? There's a car parked across the street. Black sedan, tinted windows. Been there since this morning. 2 men inside. They're just sitting there. Janet, listen to me carefully. Go inside your house. Lock your doors. Don't go near the windows. Sarah, you're scaring me. What's going on? Please. Just do what I say. I'll explain later. I hung up and called Donovan. There's surveillance on my house. Black sedan, 2 men. Silence. Then, don't go home. Do you understand? Do not go to your house. What do I do? There's a safe house in Portland. I'm sending you the address now. Drive there directly. Don't stop, don't deviate, don't contact anyone. My things are just things. Your life isn't. I made it to the safe house by nightfall. It was a nondescript apartment in a nondescript building, the kind of place designed to be forgotten the moment you looked away. Donovan met me there with another marshal, a woman named Torres who carried herself like someone who'd seen worse than this. We've confirmed the surveillance, Donovan said. Marchetti affiliated. They had your address within 18 hours of that newsletter hitting mailboxes. How? Your mother sent a copy to an old family friend. Margaret Kowalski. Does that name mean anything to you? I searched my memory. She was friends with my grandmother. I met her maybe twice. Her son works for a real estate firm in Chicago. A firm that launders money for the Marchettis. He saw the newsletter on his mother's refrigerator. 1 degree of separation. That's all it had taken. So what now? Now we wait. The men at your house don't know you're not coming back. They're watching, hoping to catch you unaware. Meanwhile, we're building your new identity. Another one. Another one. Donovan's voice was tired. I'm sorry. I know this isn't what you wanted. What I wanted was to stop running. To have a life. You did have a life. For 3 years. That's more than some of our witnesses get. Cold comfort. No comfort at all. The waiting was the hardest part. 3 days in that apartment, watching news coverage of holiday celebrations while my existence collapsed into logistics. New name selection. Document preparation. Location scouting for wherever I'd be sent next. I thought about Janet, my neighbor, probably terrified and confused. About the kids at the library who'd wonder where Miss Sarah went. About the garden I'd planted last spring, the tomatoes I'd never harvest. About my mother, who destroyed everything because she couldn't accept that loving someone meant letting them go. On the 3rd day, I asked Donovan to bring her in. She arrived looking shattered. The Marshals had explained, in terms she couldn't misunderstand, exactly what her newsletter had done. They'd shown her photos of Marchetti enforcers, court documents detailing their methods, evidence of what happened to witnesses who were found. I didn't know, she kept saying, tears streaming down her face. Emily, I didn't know. I told you. I told you I was in danger. You didn't tell me how much. You didn't explain. Because I couldn't. Because the details are classified, because telling you put you at risk, because I trusted you to believe me even without the proof. I'm your mother. I needed you back. I needed my daughter. And now you've lost me again. Forever this time. She reached for me. I stepped back. The Marshals are going to relocate you too, I said. New city, new name. For your own safety. The Marchettis might target you to get to me. I don't want a new name. I don't want to leave my home. You should have thought about that before you sent 200 people my address. It was cruel. I knew it was cruel. But I was exhausted and terrified and about to become my 3rd self in 3 years because my mother couldn't accept boundaries. I love you, she whispered. Everything I did because I love you. I know, Mom. That's what makes it so much worse. The extraction happened at 3 a.m. on New Year's Eve. A convoy of unmarked vehicles, a route designed to evade anyone who might be watching, a private airfield where a charter plane waited. I was allowed one bag, hastily packed with documents from my Sarah Mitchell life, photos I'd taken, letters from students, small pieces of an identity I'd built and was about to shed. Donovan handed me an envelope as I boarded the plane. Your new documentation. Memorize everything, then destroy the papers. I opened it. A driver's license looked back at me with my photo and a stranger's name, Rebecca Torres. Address in Sedona, Arizona. Occupation, freelance bookkeeper. Rebecca. Not Emily, not Sarah. Someone else entirely. What about the men watching my house? They'll be taken into custody tomorrow. We're coordinating with the FBI. And my mother? She's being processed for relocation. Different location than yours, obviously. No contact between you going forward. No contact. I'd lost my mother twice now, once when I died, and once when she brought me back to life in the most dangerous way possible. Sedona was beautiful. Red rocks and blue skies, crystal shops and art galleries, tourists and retirees and people escaping something. I fit right in. I found an apartment, set up my bookkeeping business, built another quiet life in another quiet place. Rebecca Torres was more cautious than Sarah Mitchell had been, no library job with public exposure, no friendly neighbors, no garden that tied her to one specific house. Rebecca moved through the world like smoke, leaving no trace. A year passed. Then 2. I heard updates through Donovan. The Marchetti operation had been further dismantled, key figures were in prison, the organization was fragmenting into smaller, less coordinated pieces. The threat level was downgraded from imminent to possible to low. It was never downgraded to none. I'd carry it forever. My mother reached out once, through approved channels. A letter, screened by Marshals, that arrived on what would have been my real birthday. I think about you every day. I'm sorry doesn't cover what I did. I hope you found some peace. I hope someday you can forgive me. I didn't respond. I didn't know how. The forgiveness came slowly, in pieces. Not all at once, not completely, but gradually, the way wounds heal when you stop picking at them. I started seeing a therapist, one cleared by WITSEC, who helped me understand that my mother's actions came from love distorted by grief, not malice. She wanted you back so badly that she couldn't see the danger, Dr. Reyes explained. That's not an excuse, but it might be an explanation. It almost got me killed. Yes. And she'll live with that for the rest of her life. I thought about my mother in her own relocation, her own new identity, separated from everything she'd known because of one catastrophic decision. Her punishment was living with the consequences, same as mine. Maybe that was enough. Maybe it had to be. 3 years into being Rebecca, I wrote back. A single page, screened by marshals, sent through protected channels. I'm alive. I'm safe. I'm building something again. What you did was devastating, and I'm not sure I'll ever fully understand it. But I'm trying to forgive, because carrying anger takes energy I'd rather spend on living. I love you. I'm not sure that changes anything, but you should know it's true. Please don't try to find me again. Please let me be whoever I need to be. That's what love looks like from here. Your daughter. I'm still in Sedona. Still Rebecca. The red rocks remind me that time changes everything, that landscapes that seem permanent are always eroding, reshaping, becoming something new. I've eroded too. Reshaped. Become someone I couldn't have imagined when I was Emily, the forensic accountant who thought she was just following numbers. Sometimes I think about who I might have been without the Marchettis, without the testimony, without the 3 lives I've lived in 10 years. That Emily is a stranger to me now, no more real than Sarah or Rebecca. But sometimes, late at night, I remember things that survive across all the identities: my mother's voice singing lullabies, the smell of her kitchen at Christmas, the way she held me when I was small and scared. Love is complicated. Family is complicated. The things that save us and destroy us are often the same things, wielded by the same people, with the same intentions. My mother tried to bring me back from the dead because she loved me. She almost killed me because she loved me. I'm learning to hold both truths at once, to forgive what can be forgiven and accept what can't be changed. My name is Rebecca Torres. Before that, I was Sarah Mitchell. Before that, I was Emily. I'm still learning who I'll be next.